This is video number 2 in a series of Grad Points videos. If you haven't watched number 1, I highly recommend you go back and watch number 1 also. So in this video, we're going to talk about the end of course test. And there's a report in the Analytics Hub that I like to run, and it gives me a lot of details of who's on track to graduate as far as the end of course goes. It is in the eligibility folder in the Analytics Hub, and it is this end of course performance detail. And I like this report because it comes out nicely in Excel CSV. So I'm going to run it, and I'm concentrating only on my 12th graders right now because I need to make sure they're on track to graduate. So when I run this, I'm going to choose the high school, and I will choose active. You'll want to mark all your statuses of students that attend school regularly. And I'll choose 12th grade here. When the data comes out on my screen, I'm going to click this gray button here and export it into CSV. And now I have a nice spreadsheet, and it lists each 12th grade student. So the first one I have on this list is William. All right, so he was this student in video number 1. He's got 22 points and he's complete. Fantastic. Josephine Agard. We'll look at Josephine. I'm going to purposely expand column N because there's some important stuff in here. So Josephine Agard. When I look at Josephine's scores, and I'm going to highlight them so I can easily find them back. She has 18 points. So column O is her total points. And column H is, so in the English category, she has 6 points and she only needs 4. In the math category, she has 4 points and you have to have 4. And then in science, she has 8 points and you only need 6. So she has 18 points, but notice this. Student has not taken the government assessment. A student has to take all 7 tests. And so if you expand column K, that is the government test. So let's go look up Josephine Agard. And I'm going to go to her end of course scores. So in the cheater, I just type end of course. It'll take me straight to her scores. Okay, there's the history. She's never attempted government. She's a senior. And we've already loaded the scores for the tests that were taken in the spring of 2019. If you're ever wondering if the test scores have been loaded, you can go to SIS assessment, assessment history, and it will tell you all the scores that have been loaded for this year. So I could tell that the spring and the summer end of course scores have already been loaded for the 1920 school or for 1819. So she didn't have a score in there. So she's a senior. She still needs to take this government test. If I look at her schedule, she's taking government, so she should be on that pre-ID. She should be taking this test in December because she needs that to graduate. So she would be one I would want to make sure is testing in December because she has the 18 points. She's just got to take that test. Honestly, at this point, it isn't going to matter what she scores on it because she's already hit the 18. She just needs to take it to graduate because you have to take all 7 tests. So now let's go back to my list. Nellie Abitolini. And so Nellie Let's see what's up with Nellie. She has taken every test, but she only has 16 points. So let's pull her up. And I'll go to Nellie's end of course. So it looks like Nellie is really struggling with these two tests. The geometry, she scored a 1 in the spring of last school year, and the government test, she's also scored a 1. So if she could bring those up, and she would be one I would want her retaking this test in December to see if she can get the actual 18 points total that she needs to graduate. And if she doesn't pass those tests, then I need to start looking now at alternate pathways for her to graduate. But she's one I'd want to keep an eye on. I come down here. Next kid I have is Shelly Abby. I look at her. She's got prorated for English 1 and for biology. So what does that mean? That means that she has probably transferred in from out of state or out of country and taken the course equivalent. Sure enough, if I look over here, this is how many points that student, column P is how many points she has to have to graduate. So she has 13 because she's on a prorated end of course schedule. So when a student has taken the course equivalent in another state, an end of course score needs to be entered. So if we look up Shelly Abby, and I'm on her end of course scores, I see these biology and English language arts score not reported reasons of why. And what that means is the score not reported reason of why is the student transferred in with the course already completed. So she transferred in from out of state with the course already completed. When you use the score not reported why, you don't put a score value here. This stays asterisk, and performance level is invalid or did not attempt it. So she has that for biology and English language arts. So she has come in with 2 tests she doesn't have to take out of the 7, so she's down to 5. And there's a crosswalk that ODE has provided. And when a student only has 5 tests to take, they have to score a total of 13 points. So when I go back to the spreadsheet, it looks like for language arts 2, she's only scored a 1. Ouch. Algebra, she's got a 1, geometry a 2. So it looks like she just took that geometry test in April of last school year. She's got her history and her government, but again, she's only got a total of 19. So on these 5 tests that she did take, those only add up to 9. So we need to start looking at her, say, okay, do we need to explore alternate pathways, or can she get the 4 points? Now I'm going to pull her profile up. Just want to double check something. So when I go to her FS, yes, she is indeed from out of state. And check one more thing. Let's go to her student course history. I want to see the classes that she came in with. So if we go to her student course history, and when you go to the course history page, I recommend you show filters, make this say earned only, and you want to make sure that EMIS subject area for credit is pulled over, and I would pull over the core subject area too. When you have this, your selections, you can say, I want to save my settings, and that's what I have chosen here. So she's got 22 credits. And if I sort this by EMIS subject area for credit, just want to look at, so she is from Guatemala. And if I look at the classes that she has come in with, just checking to see if there's any other. So they said she took the biology, she came in with that, and then the English language arts. So this is all her course history. Okay, let's move on to the next student. Jerome Abbott, let's pull him up. All right, Jerome needs 18 points to graduate. He only has 11. Now, like in English, he needs 4 points. So remember, column I is how many points in that whole category a person needs. He only has 2 points in English. He has a total of 3 points in math and 6 in science. So he's okay in science, but it's definitely English and math that he's struggling in. He only has 11 points. If I pull him up, and I'm going to go to his end of course. Okay, so he has taken the test multiple times. So in the spring, he took 4 tests again. He has accommodations. I'm going to check his special ed record to see if he is exempt from taking the test. And so I go to his special education record. And tab number 2 is where it would show if he was exempt from the test and which part of the test. He has nothing on here. So I would definitely want to check with my special ed coordinator to make sure that Jerome is not exempt from the test. Because if he's not, and we're at his senior year, we're definitely going to have to explore the alternative pathways for Jerome. Because if they're special ed and they have a special ed exemption, that means that they just have to take the end of course test once. And then regardless of the score they get, they automatically get 3 points for it. So I want to check with the special ed coordinator to make sure he doesn't have an exemption that possibly someone forgot to get entered in there. So let's go back to my spreadsheet. And I want to point out on Jerome, so he's taken all 7 tests, but he's only got 11 points. So he's definitely one we need to keep an eye on. Rachel Abercrombie. And if I pull up Rachel, so if I look here though, she's got 6 points in English, so she only needed 4. She has 5 points in algebra, she only needed 4. And she has 6 points in the science and social studies, so she's met the minimums. But if you notice, she's only has 17 points out of 18. And then if I look here, she's never taken the government test. She's a senior and she's not even attempted the government test yet. So let's pull her up, see what's going on with her. All right, if I look at her state test, so I'm on her grad point summary page and I can click this view and it pulls up all of her tests. So sure enough, she's never taken that government assessment and she needs that. She needs 1 more point to graduate and she also needs 1 more test. So she's missing out on both of these requirements. If we go to her schedule, I'm hoping to see that she's taking this government class and should be She's one I would want to dig in further. So none of these look like the government class I'm expecting. But she definitely needs that to graduate, and it looks like she's never taken it. Remember, this school has already loaded their spring and their summer test results for end of course, and her results weren't on there. So she's one I'd want to dig into further also. Next we have Herman Abilene. So with Herman, he's another one. He has 17 points out of 18, and he's taken all 7 tests. So if I pull him up, Herman, and see what we get back. So Herman Abilene, and I look at his end of course. All right, so he took 3 tests last spring. Geometry, it looks like he's attempted that twice. So he took it last spring and got a 1, and he took it the year before in the spring and got a 1 also. So he's struggling with that. And since he doesn't have enough points to graduate, he'll need to retake a test again. And would be assuming they're having him take that geometry test for a 3rd time. Another one that he scored low on, biology and English language arts. Hopefully he can get those up to a 3. Otherwise, the district would need to start exploring alternate pathways for that student too. So this completes the video number 2 in the Grad Point series. If you have any questions about troubleshooting this end of course and where a student's at, please send us a ticket. All you do is email ProgressBook help at MetaSolutions. I know this task is daunting, but if you divide it up into chunks, it can be a lot easier to handle. And if you haven't watched video 1 in the series of Grad Points, please do that. Thank you.